Right, I'm back to where I was with the throttle cables, which I'll get back onto in a minute, as in the right length of here now, and I've got them fitted. But I'm going to be putting the regulator rectifier back on, and I just thought I'd show you this bracket thing that I made. The way I'm doing it is, if you can just see there, cable tie, drilled a couple of holes through the plate, and I'm just cable tying all the wires on. I'm trying to keep my head torching so you can see what the crack is. There's a bit of oil to clean off here yet, that spilled down, which I'll do in a second. I've bought one of them chrome cover things to go over it. Now basically I've cable tied the wiring in, so when it's actually up in position, which is up here somewhere, push the wires where they're meant to be, and then pull all the cable where am I at? Pull all the cable ties tight and cut them off, etc. But yeah, just drilled. That camera works crap. Drilled 2 bolts there, you can see that's the regulator rectifier. Them 2 top, well, the bottom there are actually the top bolts, these ones, where it bolts to the motor. And as I say, I just drilled some holes in the plate for cable ties to go through. So I'll knock you off, we'll get you set up again, and I'll get this thing fitted. Back in a minute. Right, I'm just going to put a bit of blue Loctite on the back of this bolt. And I'll get this mounted. All the wiring's still loose at the minute. I'll just screw that in a couple of threads. Bit of Loctite on the other side bolt. You've got to remember with this one, it's got a earth, like an earth off your regulator rectifier. I'll just get that in a couple of threads, and then check on the bottom of this plate, make sure I'm not squashing the wires against the motor. Pull that one through. I know you can't see what I'm doing to wire in here, but I'm just doing it by feel. I can't actually see in there. I just want to make sure that when that plate goes tight, I'm not squashing the connectors against the bottom of the motor. Because I've done it in such a way that this also acts as a stone guard. Right, I'm just going to get a bit of a pull. I'll pull it a bit tighter when I'm done. But I've still got oil everywhere underneath there. Right on the bottom of the motor, which a bit I never cleaned. Just grab a rag. Oh. I'll give that a proper clean in a minute. Right, so I'll just check the routing of my wire, that it's come up the right way. And I'll just turn these forks back so you can see through the middle of them. Oh, and battery light's flashing, so I'm just going to knock it off and change the battery. Right, back again. Right, I'm just going to tighten these 2 mounting bolts. As I say, just check that the earth cable's routing itself properly. Fucking forks. plenty tight enough and solid. So, check it out. I'll have to come behind the camera now because I need to see if that chrome bit's level. And it doesn't quite look. Right. Need to find the Allen key for that now. Right, and I made this so that I can get onto that bolt. Onto the nut, sorry. And if need be, I can loosen that side. There is a tiny little bit of play in the bolts, but when I've got it all sat properly, I'll check it. Now I'll pull this cable tight. And I'll snip them off in a minute. And the little earth one. And I'll just grab a pair of pliers. Should have just seen a pair. That'll do. And pull this one there. And I can shine my torch into the back of there and just make sure that's not stuck up against the casing. No, it's not, which is cool. So that's that mounted back on. So, and the reason I wanted to get that back on is because I'm routing my clutch cable down through there. So I wanted that out of the way, fitted, so that I can sort of, can't think of the right word, interference, make sure it's not in the way of the cable or out like that when I fit the clutch cable. Because if need be, if it is interfering with the clutch cable in any way, I'll modify the bracket a bit more, but I don't think it's gonna. The way the clutch cable goes down there, it actually goes, you can't see properly on there, but you've got your mounting bolt which runs here through the front of the engine, and the cable goes underneath the mounting bolt, so it'll actually come down the side like it, I don't know, fingers in where, but you'll see when I mount the cable anyways, you'll see what I was talking about. Right, I'll knock you off for now and I'll get back up onto these handlebars. Right, new throttle cables are on, the right length. And what I'm going to show you here is feeding the pull is going on the outside of the bar, and I'll show you in a second where it's going from there. The idle cable's going on the inside of the bar. It just runs nicely in line. And if I loosen this camera off a bit, it'll then come down onto the inside of the bar and do a bit more. Yeah, once it's all sort of fitted in place, if I just stick these in, I think you can see, stick these in perspective holes, thread the cable through, same on that one, drop the spring in the hole, so they'll connect to the throttle assembly in a second, but then the cables just nicely. Yeah, clipped up, trap my vent pipe then off me. Just turn them bars a bit. Get in there. Typical, everything catching when you don't want it to. Right. When it's in on its cables, you can turn. It all turns freely. The handlebars, which I know you can't see it, but turning left to right, you can just see the end of the cable moving. It's just ever so slightly going up and down, but it won't foul or anything when the tank's on. So that's the cables routed, and they're now the correct length. So I'll knock you off again and we'll get you onto the front of the fork part so I can show you this wiring. Back in a sec. Right, on the left hand side of the bar, that was the first wiring that I did. Now I've left this one so that I can show you what the crack is. I've got a length of conduit or outer sheath, whatever you want to call it, and basically just get all your wires together. Typical, I don't want to play ball. Right, shove them in the sheath. I know you can't see this, but it's not rocket science. Right, shove them through. You'll see it coming up into view in a minute. It's a lot easier once they come out the other end. Here they come. Let's just pull them through. Make sure you've got all your wires, and I've just noticed I haven't. So why aren't they coming through? Bagger. They've obviously got snagged somewhere halfway through. The only thing with this sheathing, it creases when it's been like rolled. And I've obviously caught that in a crease. I'm just going to pull this back off and start that again. Right. In fact, what I might do is shove them indicator wires through first. Right, I'm having a bad wire day. They're all tangled together. Right, start again. Feed them through. This is the indicator wires I'm shoving through first, just so I've got them through. Knock the creases out the old conduit. The only thing with the conduit, keep calling it a conduit now, outer sheath. Right, that's them through. So now, get the rest of the wires, get them put together and shove them in. And again, get the creases out so it can all come through freely. As I say, when you get them through this end, at the other end, just make sure you've got all your wires. 2, 4, 6, 9. Cool. That was a bit of a pain, but got there in the end. Right. Now you can see there the conduit. I've got it shoved up so far, but I'm not going to shove it right up. I'm going to leave them bits of wire there, grip the conduit and push the wire in and the conduit back into the bars. Now, because of the size of the hole that I drilled in the bars, it's quite a nice snug fit for the conduit, for the outer sheath. So I can shove that up into the bars with a bit of slack on the cable, says he. I know I'm blocking your view with my hand, but basically what I'm trying to do is just shove the conduit in, and as I was saying, because it's a nice snug fit, it actually keeps itself gripped, so it's not going to, I've got slack in the wiring, so if I need to pull the controls off for anything, I can pull the wire through a bit, that'll give us room to work. But I've got enough of the conduit through. I've probably now shoved a couple of inch of this outer sheath, not conduit, you can call it conduit if you want, outer sheath. Right, and that's enough of that, so I'll just hold that for a minute with my finger. Cram all that lot through the top of there. Sure we've got them all. And then pull the whole lot down and through. It'll untwist it so when it, if I grab the right one, once it comes through, there. And you'll notice when it went in line, it actually allowed us to push a little bit more up. And then that pulls down the side of the frame. The other one pull through and go on that side of the frame. And if I just pull them up out there and sort of give them a little bit of slack like you'd have as standard, but if I turn the bars, I don't know if I can't see my screen, yeah, but if I pull my bars, you can see that the conduit's not trying to move, so it's not going to pull itself back out. It's got a nice snug fit in there. So that's the internal wiring through the bars and down, so it's just a case of joining that up now to the standard plugs. So I think the next thing I'll do is I might actually route this clutch cable through and get the casing, the new casing put on the side of the gearbox with the clutch release in it, and we'll come back to the wiring later. Right, I'll knock you off for now and come back later. Right, I set off to do the clutch cable, and took the lever off, and I forgot to switch the camera on. Now basically, let's get the pin. The cable goes in, sorry, the lever goes in, and it's held in by a pin that goes in the top here, and when you get it lined up properly it drops right through. There's a circlip on the bottom of it. Now I went to take that circlip off and I hardly moved it and it snapped in half. And I was cursing and looked at the camera in disbelief. And that's when I realised I hadn't switched the camera on. So now I've got another clip, but I don't know where they're at the minute. I have got clips, should I say, but I don't know where the box is with them in. So when I put this back together, there won't be a clip going on it straight away because I'll need to find my box of clips. So I'm just going to fit the actual cable end into the lever. And I'm just going to put a bit of waterproof grease on the pin that goes through the middle of the cable end. Now this stuff I've got it off my mate. I'm not 100% sure what it's called. He works in a like marine, like with boats and stuff, and it's a waterproof grease that he uses. So I've greased that pin up, which goes through the middle of the, where's the big bit of the lever there, where the clutch cable goes on. Right, so I'll just grab my cable. Right, so basically, grease all over. Get your clutch lever, just line your cable up, and keep this in view. Just line the end of the cable up, get it in the right place, and then the white peg that I've just put the grease on. You can tell that's got grease on, otherwise that would have been up floor. Right, just there you go, it's gone through. So it's just a case of getting it to line up on the other edge. Go on, that's it. Right, now after the cable back up into the handlebars, just wipe this grease off my fingers. Now I've got the end of the cable trapped underneath my table. Right, so I just put the, in fact what I'll do, I'll feed that round first. Oh, I can't do that. That's it. Now that white thing has to go up this in from this end because it's too wide to go through that bit. But once you've got the lever back on, just give it a waggle about until you find its mounting hole and just shove your pin back through. And then basically shove the outer part into its hole, and then we'll, now that we've got that far, I'll knock you off, move you into a different place, and we'll route this through. I'm going to route it down through my risers like I did earlier, but I'm going to set you up at the side where the clutch housing is. So, right, I'll knock you off, I'll be back in a minute. Right, got a new gearbox gasket, the end gasket should I say, to go on. I've cleaned the faces, but before we do out, I need to get the new casing out. Nice new shiny casing with no rust missing, with no chrome missing, but I need to put the insides in. So I'll grab the bits one by one. Now the bottom plate that has your bearings in, there's obviously a slot on there, I don't know if you can see it. The bit that's sticking out of there fits in this slot in here. So we'll just drop that in place. Hopefully my thought I'd misplaced my circlip pliers then. I'll just grab my assembly loop, which is just down here. Right, I'm just going to drop a bit of assembly lube in each bit where the balls go. I've inspected the ramps to make sure there's no excessive wear. Clutch felt alright anyways, so I wasn't expecting any, and there wasn't actually any. Cleaned the balls, checked them. Right, so once your ramps are in place, just drop a bearing in each one. I'll try and keep this in your camera view. Third one, drop that in, and then you want your top ramp, which make sure you get them in the right way. So what happens there, if you look, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but is that if just trying to get that in a view, as I turn it you can see that comes apart and then goes back together as I release it, and that's what's pushing your clutch in and out sort of thing, obviously when the cable pulls on there. So now I've got that in, I need to put the circlip back on. So if I just get that in my circlip pliers, I'll turn it round. You want the circlip open end to be in that bit, in that bit there, not out here. So pull it in, make sure it's in its groove. And release. I'm sure I just dropped something there. Oh, just some old gaskets falling off. You can see them. Yeah, just push down. Make sure it's seated in the groove properly, like you just heard it clip in there. And that's your release mechanism in, and it can't obviously come out. So what I need to do next is just reach under there and grab the new washer. I'll just put this housing down a second, because we're got to screw the cable in. But I want the O-ring first. I'll feed me cable along here. Cool. Right, and then push the O-ring on, and then basically I'm going to screw this onto the casing. Let's get that to go through. In fact, I'll turn that around so you can see there. I'm just trying to get the end of that through the hole. That's it. And then sort of make sure it's in line with the hole, and then just turn it on. I'm going to need a spanner in a second. That's the wrong size. Where's the other spanner gone? Just had it a second ago. God, that's annoying. That's the wrong bastard one as well. Right, I'm just going to knock you off a minute. I seem to have misplaced my spanner. Typical, as soon as I switched the camera off I found it. So just want to nip that up. Doesn't need to be mega tight, just enough that it seals and then sits sort of comfortably as if it's going to go on there. But we need to get the clutch put together first. Right, so twist this round. Cable end. There's a slot. Now, well, you can see that. There's a slot in there where the cable comes through. You just need to hook that under the cable and then pull it up. I'm trying to turn this round, and then that part turns. Just turn the clutch mechanism a little bit. You have to get this in a certain way. Right. You're not going to see this very well, but it can be quite a pain in the butt. In fact, what I will do so you can see it is I'm just going to take that back out. Lift that, hopefully the balls will stay in. Yep. Yeah, so get the cable hooked on like so. Hope you can see that. And then on this bit here, it's got straight edges, and them straight edges have to go on in a certain way so that it will go onto its release thing. Oh, the balls are starting to roll out, so I'll get that back on before they disappear. And now I've got what do you call it all over my fingers, assembly lube. Right, I'll get this clip put back in. Just down slightly at that end, that's it. And then just push it, just make sure it's in its clip everywhere. And that's in now. So, wipe this stuff off my fingers. Right, so now you get your gasket. Just put your gasket over your dowels. And then basically, just put your housing over your dowels. And it's probably going to be a tight fit because it's new. Tap. Right, and I just need to grab my bolts. I also need my Loctite, which I can't seem to see. I'm just going to knock you off a minute while I get my stuff sorted. I'm back in a sec. Right, I nearly forgot to switch the camera on then. I had to pull the cover off because I remembered that the bottom two bolts have to go in with the cover because the exhaust's in the way. So I'm just going to put a bit of blue Loctite on them. And then I can shove that down. And they should start to go in. Cool, just awkward to get my fingers in there. Right, and I'll just put 2 others in, put a bit of Loctite on. Now I'll just be torquing these up with the Allen key, just basically getting them tight to where the Allen key bends. Because I can't torque them all exact because the bottom 2 I can't get torque wrench on. I'm not going to do 4 and not 2, if you know what I mean. I'd rather just do them all equally with the Allen key. My hands are covered in assembly lube. The filler plug that goes in there, that's still in the old cover at the minute. Whereas I'm going to be draining the oil when I get it off these blocks. There's no rush to get that on. Freaking clamp in the way. Do my check. Just make sure the Allen key bends and they're tight enough. Cool. And that's the clutch housing back on. And if we wanted to, we could actually set the clutch. We won't do that yet, even though I could if I wanted to, because you set it with a cold engine. Right, I'll knock you off for a minute. Right, I've changed my mind about the filler cap, plug, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to put it in, because the way I've been performing just lately, I'll probably chuck the other one in the scrap and leave this in it. So I thought I'd best take it out. Alright. Needn't screw it in tight. It's going to come out again anyways. Right, and I think what I'll do next is I'll actually put these throttle cables on. I'll just move some stuff on this. I seriously need a clean up in here, it's ridiculous. That's why I can't find half my stuff. Right, I'll be back in a sec.